everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm in my dressing gown because I just want it to be cozy and chatty, and I just want to talk to you guys about my course. I'm almost at the end of my third year course at the University of Lincoln. I'm doing a Bachelor of Science in Forensic Science, and I just thought I'd sort of go through all of the different like modules that I've done and loads of like cover everything that I've done in my course so far, just so you can have a little bit of an insight into what my course entails, whether you want to do the course in the future, just you're generally interested as to what I've learned and the skills that I now possess because of my degree. And I just don't know, I thought this was quite an interesting video. I'd never seen anyone do like a proper in-depth overview on my course before I came to uni, so I feel like this would have definitely helped if I was like looking to do something like this in the future. Overall, my course is just very eclectic, I think the right word would be. Like, there's literally a bit of everything you can think of in it, from science to law to maths, a bit of computer skills. There's literally a lot of everything in my course, so just like give you a bit of an insight, but give you my personal opinion on them and like how I found each year as I've progressed through uni. And so yeah, this is my course and what it entails, because I think a lot of people do get confused as to what forensic science actually is. I get a lot of comments on my forensic science study with me's that I've done on my vlog channel before. People like, what is your course? Like, what does it mean? What do you do? So this video is going to tell you. So I'm just going to log into my university portal, which is called Blackboard, and I'm just going to like talk you through all of the different modules that I've done. So starting with first year, I had 4 modules from September to December, which is called Semester A at my uni. Sometimes it's called like Term A or Term 1 in some other unis. So I did 4 modules then, and then I did 4 modules from January to April, and then I had May exams. And I also had exams in January for the Semester A modules too. One of my first ever modules was called Integrative Biochemistry. So the syllabus for this module included carbon and the building blocks of life, so looking at the functional groups of chemistry and like basic stereochemistry stuff, things that you would have learned probably in A-level chemistry if you took it. I took biology, so I wasn't actually that clued up on chemistry, so this module was super helpful for me. And we also looked at like carbohydrates, amino acids, protein structure, and energy production. And this was actually really good, like all the rest of that I just mentioned, because I did a bit of biochemistry at A-level biology. So we looked at like amino acids and how to like draw certain molecules and like the different type of lipids and metabolism and everything like that. I was quite happy with that because I sort of had a bit of a head start. But obviously if you took chemistry at A-level and had that A-level as well, you would have been even better, and you probably would have found this module super simple. So yeah, that's what we covered in integrative biochemistry. So for this module I had an exam in January which was multiple choice. To some that is an advantage, to some that may be a disadvantage. I know that I found multiple choice questions exams quite exciting because I'd never done them before in school at all. In GCSEs or A-levels I've never had a multiple choice question exam, so I was like buzzing about that. And the fact that you can answer every question even if you didn't know the answer, I just quite liked that was sort of a comfort for me. Because if I didn't know what a question was at all, you could at least have a guess. So that was 50% of my integrative biochemistry module, my exam was. And 10% was made up of mini assessments on a software called Master in Biology, where the lecturers would set up like questions every few weeks on the topics that we'd already covered, and it was sort of like mini quizzes and mini like little tests to see if you were like keeping up with the content and that you understood everything. So they were quite simple. Like I pretty much got 100% on all of them, because you could obviously sit at home, revise what the test was going to be about, the mini test, and then they were all multiple choice, or most of them were multiple choice, or like one word answer questions. So that was quite a nice way to test our learning and to make sure we were like recapping what we were going through. And then I had a piece of practical coursework as well, like a write-up from a practical. We've done that quite a lot throughout my course, which I think is quite good because it's like reflecting on like physically getting involved with whatever it was that we did. That was good, and I did actually get 72% in my coursework, so that was pretty solid. I'm going to try and run through these as quickly as possible. So I also did a cell biology module, which was very like biology based, as you can probably guess. And again, I felt like I had a head start on this in terms of like content, because it covered a lot of things that I did in A-level biology, lots of stuff to do with like respiration and like the different parts of the cell. And then I remember my coursework piece, because I wrote up my coursework on, I think we had to do eukaryotic, we had to find a eukaryotic organism and like basically just write a piece that related to our discipline. Because cell biology is such a broad topic, we had people that were also doing lots of other different courses when we were going to these lectures, so we had to find like a eukaryotic organism and somehow relate it to our course. And I wrote my whole piece up on diatoms. They're organisms you find in water and can help determine whether a body was like drowned or whether they had been like dumped in the body after death, and just like very good for like drowned victims, anything to do with like water in forensics. So that's what I wrote mine on, and I really remember that from first year. I think one of the things I really liked about my course was that we were like covering all the basics in first year, so we had like a really good solid knowledge of all of the basic structures, so that we could like develop on those things in second and third year and expand our knowledge that way. And it's always good to have like an understanding of the foundation of everything. So I really like how they set on my course like that. Yeah, so we covered mitosis, taxonomy, specialization of cells, tissues, the cell cycle, cell differentiation, apoptosis, cell signaling. Basically everything I did in A-level biology was in this module, so I felt like I smashed it. So yeah, I did really well in cell biology, I think. So I remember finding it quite like taxing and quite tedious, because I did know most of it. So but I can imagine that would have been really helpful for someone who didn't do biology as an A-level. Like, it would have been very, very good. So anatomy and physiology was one of my other modules. I loved the content in this, but it was a lot. Like, the lecturer who ran this module just threw so many technical terms in, literally packed shit tons of content into this tiny little module, and it was very overwhelming to learn. Although that is what I was really interested in. I loved learning about the different parts of the body and the different functions of the body parts, and like all the different things that our body does every single day. I just find that stuff really interesting. So I forgot to say, for cell biology we had a little write-up, like I said, that I did on diatoms. We had mastering biology again, so little mini tests each week, every other week or something, and then we had a 50% multiple choice question exam. Same for anatomy and physiology, we had like the exact same setup. So we had mastering anatomy and physiology, little tests. I wrote up a piece on blood spatter analysis, I think, and then like delved into the different like into the blood cells and like what each of the different blood cells can tell us and the composition of everything. So we had to like basically link again something from the course material, take it back and use it to write up a piece about our own course, because again we had other people on different courses in that lectures. In this course we learned about like blood, like I said, skin, cardiovascular system, a lot of things that I'd learned in biology but on a more deeper level, and some things that we didn't cover. So yeah, that was a very interesting module, and I actually did quite well in it, considering there were multiple problems I think during the time. In semester A, my last module was professional practice 1.1, crime scene to court. We have professional practice modules like throughout my whole 3 years at uni. I have done my last one now last semester, called presentation of evidence. So crime scene to court was like the first ever one. I remember being told about all the stuff we were going to be doing like by the time we got to third year, and I was like, oh my god, that's so scary, but it's so weird that I've like completed it all now. And this module, as it suggests, tells you like how everything goes from the crime scene to the court. So all the different like pathways, the different technical terms that you'd use, like chain of custody, continuity of evidence, how you'd package items at a crime scene. Like, the practicals are so interesting. The module introduces students to the forensic process and professional practice in science. It puts into the context of the legal system of England and Wales and the requirements and expectations of forensic science, those that work in the field, and the expert witness. So we learnt that forensic scientists are the expert witnesses. In this module we delved more into the law side of things, the legalities behind being a witness in court. We also, in these professional practice modules, we do a lot of like maths and statistics, and that's helped me develop a lot of mathematical skills, which I'm very grateful for, and working a lot in Excel too. These modules have helped me like work on my professionalism, my employability, knuckling down on some like really good skills that are very specific to my course, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, so in the professional practice modules we had lots of seminars to go through all the math stuff. So we'd be given like a maths worksheet, and we'd go home, sort of like homework like you'd have at school. Go home, do as many as you can, then go to the seminar and like share all of your ideas and how you got to the answer the way you did. And like, I remember I'd get scared, but sometimes I'd have to go up and like we'd have to write on the whiteboard like how we did our answers to the rest of the like class. It'd be quite scary. But yeah, I also did genetics, which is self-explanatory. We did genetics and all of the very intense detail in genetics. I hated doing genetics in A-level biology, so this was like my least favourite module. It was super difficult and I hated, but we got through it. And that was again a mix of an exam mastering biology and a written piece of coursework. I think we had like specific questions we had to answer for that coursework. And yeah, so genetics was not fun. That was in semester B of first year. I also did crime scene investigation. We did lots of practicals where we went into our crime scene houses. They're set up exactly like a house, and we did like basic crime scenes like burglaries or aggravated burglaries. We had to like package the evidence correctly, and we learned how to like decide what to put each piece of evidence in which type of packaging, and like how to, like what we had to wear in the order we have to put our protective equipment on, and lots of like the actual behind the scenes. And I actually had a really lovely lecturer. She was probably one of my favourites the whole time I've been here, at the University of Lincoln, and she works on the crime scene herself, so she would like let us know some stories and things behind profession that we wouldn't have known from someone who actually didn't work there. So yeah, I really enjoyed that module, and I think that's definitely something that I think a lot of people would think about when they think of forensic science, like actually getting on the scene and getting involved. So I really like that. And that was, we had to answer some questions. I think we had like an in-class test for that, and then we also did an actual written exam in May. And then last two modules for semester B were analytical chemistry, molecular techniques. So we looked at like, again, basic chemistry and molecular techniques, and then which again progressed throughout my degree. So I've done lots of different analytical chemistry modules like structural techniques, which come into place in a bit. Yeah, so for analytical chemistry we did a 2-hour exam in May, and then completed 3 pro formas in different practicals. So we had to attend 3 practicals and fill out a pro forma, which is sort of like just a mini sheet or like a 2-sided sheet full of loads of questions that you have to answer by the end and then give them in. So that was quite like a simple style coursework, and I quite liked that because it meant that I could just do it whilst I was at uni and didn't have like fit in all these extra hours whilst I was at home alongside all my other modules. And then finally I did professional practice 1.2, which was our next professional practice module, called forensic lab analysis. And in this module, I'll give you a little bit of an insight, as you can see how it's different to the other one. We covered the United Kingdom Accreditation Service, how to write good quality forensic laboratory notes, different types of evidence, fibres, how to write an expert witness statement. And that was one of my pieces of coursework for this module. So 50% of my mark was writing an expert witness statement from a practical that we did during the semester, and then I had a 50% exam as well. That was all of my first year modules. I'll try and make it a little bit more concise and condensed because I know it's getting a little bit long now. So in my second year we bumped it up a notch, and I had a molecular biology module, which was hell. I absolutely hated this. So I had a piece of coursework which were different questions that was so fucking hard, and I did not enjoy myself. This is probably one of my least favourite modules. It was just very difficult to understand. It was just very technical and I just struggled to learn it. So I had that as 50% and I didn't do too great in that, and then in my exam I didn't do too great in that. I probably just scraped a 2-2 overall in that module, which was not ideal. Very hardcore biology. And then I had advanced crime scene investigation, which I was absolutely loving. We did lots of interesting practicals. There was one practical, if you watch my vlogs you'll know, if not I'll leave them down below. But we did lots of interesting practicals. We had like a dead pig that had been left in the forest for a certain amount of days. We had to like figure out from the decay and the like whether the pig was in rigor mortis, and collect maggots from the decaying body, and had to analyse the maggots to determine how long the body had been there. definitely cringed a lot because dead pig and the smells and everything. We did some very interesting practicals. We sedated flies. It was just very weird. A very interesting module. And in the advanced crime scene, we looked at different forensic disciplines, so entomology, blood pattern analysis, bodies at scenes, forensic strategy, anti-contamination, drugs, sexual crime scenes, just again very forensic-y content. And I had an entomology report that didn't go very well. I thought it was actually a really good piece of work, turns out it wasn't, and that was 50% of my grade, and then a 50% exam. Trace evidence, which was a very interesting module, so we had a lot of like, not guest speakers, but people who had worked in different professions come and talk to us about what they'd done. So we had hair and fibres, forensic ecology, ink analysis, paint, glass, finger marks, gunshot residue, and look at lots of case studies and things. So that was very, again, very forensic based. As you can see, as we moved into second year, there were stuff that were much more specific to my course rather than the like background chemistry and biology stuff. And then I had analytical chemistry 2.1, which was separation techniques. We looked at chromatography, liquid chromatography, electrophoresis, standardization, atomic spectroscopy. Basically we had again proformas, which was a good coursework idea as well, where we just went to the labs and filled out a form and gave it in at the end of the day, and then I had a 50% exam. So that was all quite simple. And then I had, what else did we have? I had a human identification module, which I loved. It was forensic anthropology based, so lots of looking at bones, studying the bones of the body. We had a presentation that we had to give. This was like the first proper big presentation we had to give at uni, so it was kind of crazy, like speaking in front of like half of my course. And I did really well in that actually. I was quite proud of and yeah, so we had to make like a group PowerPoint and present our findings from our specific body that we got given. So we've got lots of like skeletons that are like different heights, genders, ages, you know, all that stuff. We had to like justify how we came to a conclusion on like where our body was from, how old they were, and everything from the different parts of the body we were given. But I focused on sex differentiation, so I looked at the cranium and the pelvis in particular. So like I know all the like weird names for the different parts of the head and the pelvis now. So like this bit at the back of your head, if you can feel like a bump at the back of your head, that's your nuchal crest. Your mastoid process, which is just down here, and whether they're male or female. And then with your pelvis, there's like the sciatic notch, which is like what women have a broader sciatic notch, because obviously we're built to give birth to children. Lots of very interesting stuff. Definitely recommend that module. Not that I can recommend it and you guys can do it, but that was one of my favourite modules, human identification. Sorry, my hair's just pissing me off because it's just been freshly washed and it's all over the place. So that was fun. And then I had a multiple choice question exam, which I was buzzing about. Again, I find them quite a lot easier. Then I had my professional practice module, scientific experimental design, where we did lots of like IT workshops and lots of stuff that I didn't really like that much. So we did like transformation of data, statistical distributions, more philosophy side of things, and yeah, there was like little blackboard tests that we did, which were like 5% of the module, like a few of those. And then I had like an employability submission that I had to send. And I remember it was like my peak of when I was like really badly depressed in second year, and I had to like sit and we had to film like video interviews that we had to send off for our coursework, and I had to like put on like a brave face, and I actually got 88% in it, which is hilarious because I've never felt worse in my life, and I had to just sit and pretend to smile and like send off my submission. But yeah, so that was that. We had to like make a little portfolio for a hypothetical job application, so we sent off like a cover letter, our CV, and then this video interview to try and get the job. And then the other 50% of the module was an exam. As you can see, is quite a trending theme that they've done, which I guess is quite nice because it's like two different ways of learning, like an exam setting and then like a coursework setting where you're like working on something at home. And then my final module for second year was professional practice 2.2, quality assurance and regulation. So this was quite a boring module, but it had to be done because it was looking at how labs get accredited and following standard operating procedures in the lab. So for this I had a few blackboard tests which constituted to 10% of my module overall. I had to do a piece of coursework that was, I think, 40%. Yeah, 40%. I had to write another expert witness statement, which was 40% on a practical that we did during the module, and then I did a 50% closed book examination in May. That brings us to third year, which I am currently enduring. So let me get all of my third year modules up. I have less modules in third year. This is because I've got 2 double modules, one which is my dissertation, my third year project, and one which is called Forensic Application of Biological Specialisms, which is spread out over my 2 semesters. So I'm actually going to be doing my exam in May, and I didn't have to do anything in January. What's different about third year for me is that I've had less exam. It's more like coursework and like longer prepared pieces of work to send in, and yeah, it's a lot more intense. I was lucky enough and got picked to do the overseas field course, which constituted to one of my third year modules, but I did that in summer. So in July I went to Guatemala and did a lot of amazing things out there. Like, we spoke to victims of people that had endured the civil war that had been going on for 36 years out there. We visited sites of landslide disasters, volcano eruptions, and got to see like the insides of the forensic anthropology like foundation there, and looking at them working on all the bodies of these victims and trying to identify them. And it was just very good and very beneficial for me because I really like the forensic anthropology side of things. So yeah, I did that forensic overseas field course and I got a first in that module, which I'm really happy about. Drugs of abuse and forensic toxicology. I wrote a report for this module. This was very chemistry based. We looked at all of the different like drugs and the side effects, the legislations behind it, like different class A, B, C. Yeah, it was an interesting module, but I was very nervous for it. I've just done my exam for it, so I haven't really heard anything back for that. But I did get a first somehow in my report. I literally thought I was going to fail my report, so I don't really know how I managed to get a first. I genuinely think they've mixed it up and I will get told at the end of the year, so yay. Yeah, so for that I did a 50% report and then 50% was my exam, and that was all like long written answers, you know, like short and long answers, no multiple choice anymore. Then my forensic application of biological specialisms module covers a complete range of things, so genetics, bioterrorism. At the minute we are doing food fraud, so it just covers like a lot of random things that we haven't covered yet over our course. And I did my first practical on Friday, and I'm writing up answers to some questions that we've been given for 25% of that module. I've got another one of those next month, and then I've got a 50% exam in May. And then I've got my forensic research project, which is my dissertation. I'm writing my dissertation on gender bias within the forensic industry and looking at how men basically dominate the more high class managerial roles and how the women are given like the lower paid jobs, and like lots of different correlations between the equality things. If you want to fill out or know anyone who has ever worked in the forensic industry, past or present, I will leave my dissertation link down below. Please fill it out if you do, if you have worked in those. If not, please don't, because I'm having so many faulty, weird responses that I don't need, and I just basically really need as many people who have worked in the forensic industry, crime scene policing, anything like that. Please fill it out, it will really help me out. But yeah, so I'm working on that currently, and that constitutes to a double module, which means I get 60 credits for it, and I'm hoping to do really well in that. And then I've got my presentation of evidence module, which I just got the final thing back for, and I just managed to scrape a first. So I had 50%, which was my portfolio for my dissertation. So I had to collect all these different forms, like ethics forms and project summaries, and like planning out what I'm going to do and basically sort of promote what idea I want to follow through with in this semester. And then I had an assessment where I had to basically present a case in court, or like I had to present my findings in court to my lecturer, like face to face. It was a really like face to face sort of assessment, and it was very intimidating, but I managed to get a high 2-1 in that. So yeah, overall I managed to scrape a first. The only module I have left, which I'm starting this semester and I haven't actually started yet, is fire, explosives and nuclear forensics. So that is definitely going to be physics and chemistry based. We haven't really touched on physics much. in my course, only more the mathematical side of it. So I'll be very intrigued to see how well I'm going to pick this up, but I really hope, fingers crossed, I'm going to be okay at it. We do have an exam on this in May, and it's 100% of my module, so that's what I am scared for, because I haven't had that yet. That's a lot of pressure. But yeah, that is my course overall. I hope it's given you a little bit of an insight into all the stuff that I've done so far. It's been very in-depth. I'm really sorry for how long this is, but I feel like this is something I've wanted to do for a while and something that people have asked for, so I hope it helps you out. Make sure to hit the thumbs up if you did enjoy it, subscribe down below if you're new, and I'll see you very soon for a brand new video. Bye.